What is going on, everybody? Are we still liking the music, Ashley? Is it all right? Yes, no?
I liked last week better, but
It's the same music as last week.
Is it really?
It's the exact same song.
Yeah, but last week was different than this week because last week, I don't know.
Man, I swear I can't find a song that Ashley likes. It's like the ongoing joke of this show is finding a song that Ashley likes.
It's not about me.
I know it's not about you, but it's become a thing, so I keep bringing it up every week. And it's funny that last week you liked this song and now this week you don't.
Okay. I'm allowed to change my mind.
That's true. It's true.
I'm a girl. I have a lot of moods.
Yeah, hopefully my wife isn't watching right now because she'll be yelling because we've been going back and forth on baby names for baby number 2, and she'll ask me about one. I'll be like, yeah, that's a good one, and then like a couple days later, I'm like, I don't like that one anymore.
Do you think about every person you've ever known with that name and like?
Yes, so and then I also think of like the names that bullies would use like to make fun of that name, and I'm like, we can't use that name, like that's gonna like that rhymes with whatever. Mm-hmm. And my wife's like, how do you think of that? And like, because I don't know, I just do because I
knew this person and they did this, and everybody with that name does this. I can't give that to my kid.
Exactly.
I think JR is a nice, strong name.
I think that's 2 names put together.
Hey, my middle name's Richard, so there's 2 JRs on here.
Boom.
Well, it's gonna be a girl as well, so I know that.
All right, we withdraw that.
I don't know that I want to name her Richard. I mean, it's a nice name. Don't get me wrong.
Thanks.
Jennifer Renee, JR.
Oh.
So my daughter's name and my son's name, they have my initials. It's Jace Raiden and then Jalen Ray. And then Justin Richard. So they have my initials.
Well, I don't really want to give my kids my initials because my initials are BM. I got made fun of for that growing up, so I don't really want to do that to my kids.
Hey, I married my wife and I made her a TM. Trademarked.
That's not too bad, though.
Yeah, I had a nice, normal last name, Miller. There's nothing like, it was very run-of-the-mill. Ashley Miller, that you probably know 5 of them, each of you. And then I got the last name Grimes, and after I got divorced, I kept it because I had it so long. But it's like, makes me, when I first got it, I was like, oh, sounds like grime.
Yeah, I know a bunch of Millers.
There's a lot of Millers. Yeah.
There's 5 Ashleys in my kindergarten class, so.
And that's the whole thing we've had with the baby name is like we don't want to go with something too common, but then like my wife comes up with like some off the wall name that sounds made up, and I'm like, yeah, let's find like some middle ground.
Whatever you decide, they'll grow into it. Like my daughter is Brianna, and you know I wanted her to be Brianna and sound sophisticated, but she's not sophisticated at all. She's got bright red hair, and it's not bright red.
What are you trying to say about gingers?
So we call her Brie, and Brie fits her perfectly. It's like the perfect name, but she's Brianna, I think, sophisticated and put together and got your crap together, and she's dramatic and sings and dances and lively and red hair. She doesn't have it together, but it's wonderful. So she's Brie.
Kyle, what's up, my dude?
All right, everyone. You want to introduce Justin or let him introduce himself, or how'd you guys plan that? I was late.
Or is JR gonna announce his challenge quickly?
Do we have a drum roll in your bag of tricks there?
I do. Hold on. What? I don't remember which page I have the drum roll on.
We don't have it together today. At least we showed up.
I have 4 pages of sound effects. I can't remember which page the drum roll's on. Cool. I know I have one. I just don't know where it is.
So is this the official kickoff of the recovery challenge? Because
I think it is. I mean, today's the 1st.
Every month. Let's get it going.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get this party started. Recovery Challenge 2022 is officially started. I mean, this will be our 3rd annual challenge, and it's simple. anyone that's in active recovery or anyone that supports anyone in recovery, all we ask is for you to make a sign. Could be cardboard, could be a piece of paper, could be a poster board. Says you support recovery with your city and state and country listed on it. I mean, we do have a video. I was hoping you'd run the video, but there it is. He's on time. Anything like that to show that you support recovery, it's a message of hope to anyone on social media. Please share it. And it runs all the way through the end of the month.
Greg, what's up?
Nice.
Hey, Greg.
I'll put him back up there.
And to add a little bit onto what Jared said, because I saw someone's post today about being a family member, and when they first, got to mobilize, they didn't feel like, they fit in because they weren't in recovery themselves. So if you're a family member, you are rock stars, and you should definitely celebrate Recovery Month too.
Absolutely.
So everybody can be in recovery from something. Let's celebrate everybody recovering, no matter how you do it.
Wow. That's why she's the brains of the outfit right there. Brett's he's the face man. I'm just here for the quirky comments.
I'm not the brain. I'm just a listener. I just listen, and I'm like, oh, that hurt my heart that they didn't feel like they fit in. I'm like, they should fit in like double what I fit in, because family members support people when they don't have to. They're there to help people pick up their lives when they get it together. When they don't, they're there afterwards to help other family members when they lose somebody. Like, they are rock stars.
Yeah, absolutely. If addiction affects 1 to 3 families, you got to think about it. I mean, these families are impacted. They say it's a family disease, and I totally agree with it, because I know I put my family through hell for 20 years.
And it's like last night, when I was doing that, doing my little talk thing. That's why I felt like it was so important, because, Nancy chose me to do that, because I've got the addiction myself. And now obviously in recovery 4.5 years. And then I've also got, unfortunately, but the family aspect where my late husband was an addict. And that's why, like I said, all my stuff. And then I just transitioned and was like, however, there's also a dark side to the story. It's not all like, oh, I was really bad, then I went great. Now I'm in recovery. That's true. But the family aspect of it, I almost want to say that what I went through with my late husband, it was almost... It was at least equally as traumatizing, because I couldn't control what he did. And again, in that speech, I said I was so angry. And one of the biggest things I was angry at when he died was that he did not get into recovery with me. Because that could have made the difference, But so being a family member and loving someone so much, wanting to change them, wanting them so badly. We want to get in recovery ourselves as like addicts, but when you love somebody, like I'm sure all of us love somebody, and that's been an active addiction, and watching them, suffer is so painful. So I absolutely agree with the fact that it breaks my heart that some families don't feel like they have a place, because they do. In every, love you too, Greg. In every single aspect of this, everybody's included. We all suffer one way or another from addiction, from overdose, and we all celebrate in some way with recovery.
Mic drop. I don't know if I could say anything after that. She just summed it all up.
No, you always have the words. I love those dings. I don't know why, but when he does that ding, I just know that I accomplished something.
I just want to have like a little pedestal where people can see it.
I wouldn't mind that.
I'll work on it.
We need a button so I can do it when you talk.
Well, I have a digital one, but everybody was like, "No, you need a real bell," because I have that one. I don't know.
Maybe next year I can add it into the budget.
Right. That's something you'll make me write.
So, Justin,
Doesn't say anything.
how did last night go?
It went well.
Why don't you introduce yourself? The people listening might not know you.
Me?
They probably do.
Nice. All right.
Go ahead.
Oh, whoa.
Full screen.
All right. So you want me to just start sharing my story?
Yeah, just say why you're here, and then
Why I'm here is because I qualify to share a story about recovery from active addiction. So I want to read this real quick because something I always talk about. I should just introduce myself totally. I'm Justin McPadden. I am the creator and president of the Hope Shot. We are a nonprofit in Florida, and we do exactly what Recovery Revolution does as well. We do recovery podcast. It's kind of how we started, and I'll get into why we started it here shortly. But the definition, the one I love the most, is the definition of recovery from Samsha, and this shows that everybody is in recovery. It's a process of change through which individuals improve their health and wellness, live a self-directed life, and strive to reach their full potential. That sums it up right there. That means everybody that's trying to strive to reach their full potential is in recovery. So I love that definition. I'm Justin McPadden. I'm 40 years old. I was in my addiction for 23 years of my life. Spun out. I grew up in a toxic home with a family that was my mom and my dad. They were toxic for each other, for one thing, and also they were in addiction as well. And I blamed them for a long time for the reason that why I was the way I was, because they made me this way, right? I wasn't taking any blame. And hey, if the power goes out of here because there's so much lightning, I will go on my phone. But I just want to put that out there because it's lightning like crazy. I grew up, when I grew up, man, my dad was he owned his own business doing construction, built homes in West Palm Beach, which is in South Florida. And we grew up kind of on the rich side. My dad was doing well for himself. And so, we did the country clubs. We did, had these big houses. He built his own house. We did all these cool things. But in the midst of it, man, it was alcohol like crazy. And my dad, man, he was, he didn't know any better, but I took a lot of trauma with me from how he treated me, the abuse, I was scared of the dark, and he would sit outside my window drunk and just try to scare the shit out of me. And I don't care what anybody says about that. That's like, oh, it's not a big deal. But dude, emotional trauma is real. And I actually had to come to terms with it. Like, just suck it up, buttercup. You know what I mean? But my whole life, that set the tone for my whole life going forward, all the way through till I was 35 years old, till I had to start taking responsibility for my own actions, because it wasn't because I was 6 years old and my dad was making fun of me or scaring me or whatever it was. It wasn't because I grew up in an alcoholic home. By the time I was 35, man, I was on my own for a long time. Like, it should have, there's no reason for me to act like that. The one thing I always hold dear is that phrase is like, our inability to accept personal responsibility. We're actually creating our own problems. And I keep that and I memorize that, because that's exactly who I was as a person. I never could take responsibility for my own actions. I blame everybody and anything because I didn't want to look at me. I want to look at everybody else. They were the problem. So my dad and my mom finally split I was like 9 or 10 years old, man. And I never fit in anywhere. I wasn't good at sports. I didn't like karate. I didn't like anything, like literally nothing. And we grew up, my mom got back with another guy that was worse than my dad. And this dude was a straight, just he was insane, like literally just psychotic, just gone, and he would abuse my mom, skull fractures. I mean, he tried to kill me twice. He was the person, like, having the app, like my dad not there, and I was just with my mom, and my stepdad came, and I was like, man, I need that male figure. I need that mentor. I need somebody to look up to. I need somebody to guide me. I was longing for that connection, right? I needed a male figure, because I don't know. It just wasn't there for me, my dad might've been there, but he wasn't there. You know what I mean? He was drunk, and so I wanted to fit in with him, and this dude, he was doing like hardcore drugs, right? So I'm 12, 13 years old trying to fit in, we're smoking weed together, right? And then it turned into like some crazy stuff. He was like with bikers and all that. And next thing you know, man, like he's doing coke, and I wanted to fit in, and he's like, oh, okay. So he's shooting me up with cocaine at 13 years old, smoking meth, I just all kinds of crazy shit, and then finally, like, the abuse was so bad. Me and my sister were out one night, and we were like, just hanging at a friend's house, and she went back in the house, and I was like, I ain't going back in there, because he was fucking drunk and just being crazy. So she goes back in, I hear her scream, and I go in there, and he's on top of her. I go and kick him. I do like a field goal kick and kick him off of her. And then from that night on, man, he was insane. He was trying to kill me, like literally kill me. He almost did. So I didn't go back. I've lived on the streets. That's what I did from 14 on. I lived on the streets, but during that time, you do what you got to do. And I was running with the wrong crowd. I was stealing. I was breaking into cars. I was doing all kinds of crazy stuff, man, doing drugs like crazy. And finally I got locked up. I went to a boys' home, went to Pinellas County boot camp. And then I went to a San Antonio boys village, and I did my time. And then I got back out, I was like 16, 17. And back to the, I got a job because we were broke. Like we never had like nice things. We never had new school clothes. I didn't fit in the school. Everybody got new kicks. I didn't get new kicks. I just never felt like I belonged anywhere. Like there's no click for me. But in the drug scene, I clicked with everybody. Like I was, that was my scene. So, I was in the rave scene. I was, that was my, we didn't really think of it as a problem back then when we're in the rave scene eating ecstasy, because we were having fun. It was the love drug. You know what I mean? It was fun. It was exciting. But I didn't understand that it would cause us to keep going and going and going and going and find different things. Cause once those were gone, then it turned into other things. But I didn't recognize drugs as a problem. I was just having fun. It was normal to me. It was normal to do drugs and have fun and party on the weekends. So, by the time I'm, 17, I'm working every day, but I'm partying on the weekends. I'm literally staying up all nights on the weekends most of the time. And then I think I was like 19. I was at work and I fell 2 stories and screwed up my ankle. And that's when I got my first lick of the freaking pain pills. And they prescribed me 60 Lortab 10s for a sprained ankle. And I was off the races. That was it from there. I felt like Superman, like couldn't tell me nothing. So I was, and then, once you get those and then you're looking for stuff that's better, that's more, the more factor. I always want more. It's never enough. It's never good enough. I maintained for a while. I was kind of like that functional addict, but it was never really, really functional, to be honest. It was more like I was just like somewhat okay. But I started a business and we were making a bunch of money. So when you have money, you don't see a problem, right? Like, I think that's a lot of things. If there's no problem because money's covering it up, then there is no problem. But as soon as shit hits the fan and there is no more money and things go wrong, then it turns into the snowball effect. And when that stuff happened, like I lost my business. It was 2008, like we were doing shit all wrong. We didn't even know. We were like, we thought we were rich, doing all these like vacations and doing stuff, man. We were living it up. But once that 2008 crash hit, man, it was over and everything was just so screwed up. I had a girlfriend, she cheated on me, and freaking that hit me so hard, like a ton of bricks. The insecurities that get brought up, man. I was insecure my whole life, picked on, all these things. Like I never was good enough for anybody. And then when all that shit came crumbling down, I went into a tailspin of just started smoking crack, started just going buck wild. But the crack, man, really, I was so strung out on crack after that, man. I stayed homeless for 2 years. Then I was introduced to the needle, and that was it, and I did that I changed zip codes. I changed areas. I tried to run away from myself. It never worked because I always find what I was looking for wherever I went, no matter what. So I went over to Orlando to try to get clean, and I just found exactly what I was looking for. I had this whole plan, this grand scheme of things that I was gonna start this new life, and it was just the place I was, and da. So I got a job over there, and it started screwing up again. And I met some people, and I was trying to go cop from this guy, and he was in a hotel room, and he wasn't answering. I was like, "What the fuck, man?" And so his buddy that had like the room with him, I called him. He lets me in the room, and we find him. We find him dead, and that's the sad truth of this whole thing. Is like it's possible, that could be me, and it freaked me out. I was like, "Oh, I'm done. Okay, I gotta get out of here." I went all the way to Houston, Texas to check myself into a Christian rehab, which I'm not really religious person or anything. I used to, I've never really been to church or anything like that, but I knew I needed to do something different. This thing was free and everything else cost money. And I was like, screw it, let's go. My dad got me a bus ticket. I went to Houston, Texas, stayed in downtown. It was like a homeless camp. But they bring you to church. You did praise and worship. You did all these things. And I did that for 6 months, and I stayed there because I was like, man, I want to get clean. I want to stay but I just didn't know how to fix these things. And I always was good at being a chameleon. Like I could put these masks on and like, I can be anything you want me to be because I'd been that my whole life. Right. Like I'm sitting here, I can be, praise and worship. I could do the Bible studies. I could do this, but then I go right back to the same situation I was in. I went back to my girlfriend. I was in Orlando, and I went right back to the races. And then, the one thing is like my whole family dynamic of my mom, my brother, and my sister, we all were in the same drug addiction together. So it's like, no matter where I went, there it was, like didn't really have, I already burnt all the bridges for my other family. I didn't have anybody to go to. But my addiction brought me back here to where I am now, which is in Pasco County, Florida. And that's what I was living with my mom, my brother, and my sister. And I finally got arrested. I got arrested twice in a month. And that was the last time I ever got arrested in my life. It was, I feel like it wasn't the last time I ever used, but it was the last time that did the crap that made me homeless, the smoking dope and the shooting up. Right. I stopped. Like after that, I called my boss, my old boss. I said, "Hey, I can't go back to my mom's house. I need help. Like, I just need to do something." So I stayed in the back of his house for a month in a tent, and he brought me to work. And because I got arrested, I got drug court. That was my second attempt at drug court. The first time I could not complete it. I was just gone. I went to jail. But the second time, man, I kind of took it seriously, but not really. Right. I was still trying to beat the system, but the only system I was beating is myself. Like I was cheating myself out of a good life. That's all I was doing. And so I, did drug court the whole time I was drinking. As long as I just switched substances, right? It doesn't matter what the substance is. It's still me. I'm still the freaking problem. But you know, I didn't get caught, right? I was drinking. I didn't get caught. I graduated because it was a screwed up. Something happened where they had a lapse and they had to go to a different company. And I skated by, right? And I was doing good for a while, you know, I was just drinking, but then you start picking up the little tidbits of the stuff you used to do, right? You know, started trying to do the Molly and the other crazy stuff, right? And then finally, man, I was at a party, drunk, saying what's up with my buddy, just like, what's up? You know, I rolled my ankle in a hole and I broke my leg. And I went back on pain pills, man. And I fought that till 2018. You know, it's like 4 or 5 years I fought it. Tried to get clean multiple times. Suboxone was like, I always had Suboxone on tap, but I would use that and then get back on pills and use that and get back on pills. And it was just a vicious cycle over and over and over and over. And in the meantime, I started a family. I got a wife that didn't know my past. I got 2 kids. You know, we had 2 kids together. And, you know, finally, man, in 2018, I had enough. And it's crazy to say that what it took for me to finally say I had enough, like my wife leaving me wasn't enough. That doesn't matter what was taken from me. It wasn't enough. It finally came to realization when somebody called the state of Florida on me because I owned a business. They called the state of Florida on me, and I was like, you know, I've been doing drywall since I was 16 years old. It's all I've ever done my whole life. I've been doing drywall. I have a business doing drywall, and it was the one thing I was really, really good at. Everything else I sucked in my life, to me, you know. I felt like I sucked at everything else in my life. The only thing that I was really good at was drywall. And I swear I identify as a drywall guy. And I've always said that, but now it's not true. But that's what I always said because it was something I was really good at, and nobody could take that from me. You know what I mean? And this dude was taking it from me, and it affected me so much. Like, he called the state. I wasn't doing the proper stuff. Like, I wasn't doing the proper licensing and all that. And I was like, what the hell am I going to do? So he's like, you can't get a license. You're a felon. You'll never be anything, and blah, blah, blah. You know, the whole spiel of what everybody wants to do to try to attack you. And I didn't listen to him. I got the books. I studied. I passed the test first time. Boom, done. I did it drunk, high, everything. And, you know, I felt really good about it. But the only thing is, man, that committee up here, man, it goes round and round, right? So after you pass your test, you have to submit an application into the state of Florida for the board, right? And you have to put your fingerprints, all your charges, I was lying the whole time. Yeah, I've been clean since drug court and which it looks real cool, because I did complete it, but yeah, I did a full house. No, it wasn't a full house skit. It was a it was Family Matters. Yeah, it was a Family Matters skit. So you have to wait for them to approve you for this after seeing your whole lengthy record and all this stuff. So I'm sitting here like waiting for them. And this committee up here is like, oh, you'll never be anything. And my whole life, that's all the things that in my head, you'll never be anything. You're worthless. All those negative emotions, negative thoughts that we keep feeding ourselves, the lies. And I put all that stuff, and it came like just hardcore at that time. And dude, I was pilling myself and drinking myself because I didn't think it was going to happen. You know, I was like, I'll never be anything. I'm a felon. You know, this is just my life, you know. And they approved me. And they said yes. And for somebody, I don't give a crap, man. My whole life I've been told no, you know. And this one time I was told yes. And like, I was like, that's it. I'm done. I checked myself in the outpatient rehab. I did outpatient IOP with Baycare. I checked myself in. I did 90 meetings in 90 days. I just threw myself all in. I finally surrendered to the fact that I cannot ever successfully use ever. And I actually said I took that wholeheartedly, that I cannot successfully use ever because I've already done multiple times, different ways. I try to take detours and down this bumpy trail and over here and there and and it just doesn't work for a guy like me, right? And that's okay. Like, it works for some people, it doesn't work for me. Like, I've already done everything. And you know, I went all in. I went all in, and I freaking did everything anybody was doing. I did events. I did step work. I did nonstop, man. That's what I did. People were like, dang, look at him go. And I was like, yeah. And, and then business, because we don't do drugs and we don't freaking throw our money away. Like, I'm telling you, addiction is a second career. It's a full-time job. And then like my other job was like part-time. And it took all my money. So like when I got clean, I started doing things right. I got my license. My business was legit. I really dove into that. And then I met some people, man, that didn't know about my past and didn't know who I was. And, and I started getting out in the community and putting myself out there and started doing business. And next thing you know, man, when you do stuff successfully, when you're doing success, people come in and they try to hate on you and they try to bring you down. And it wasn't mostly me, but I was the pawn in these grand scheme of things. And this is how the Hope Shot started. First, I got married. The gifts of recovery. I got married on 02/02/2020. It's February 2nd, 2020. And you can do frontwards, backwards. It's an infinity sign. And me and her, when I first got in recovery, man, me and her, we were drinking buddies. We were, just she drink, I would drink, and we just be stupid about it, man. That toxic relationship. I never knew what a real relationship was because I was toxic, right? And I always blamed her because she was toxic. And I was like, no, it's you. And finally, I stopped. When we start taking responsibility for our own actions, we finally start seeing that I was the toxic one, and most people feed on that, and I was toxic, and so was she. We were both feeding on each other. And I dove in the meetings, and she kind of didn't understand it, and that was okay. And she didn't really stop drinking till about, I think it was on our wedding. The last day was our wedding, and the night before that night, whatever. But she hasn't drank in 2.5 years. But she followed suit, man. I just did what I was supposed to do, and everything else will follow the way it's supposed to. As long as I don't try to control the outcome, I just do what I'm supposed to do, and everything else changes around me. Everything. It's a ripple effect. What am I putting out into the universe? Am I putting negativity? Or am I putting positivity? If I do what Justin needs to do, be positive and be an example, everything else will follow suit, right? And if not, it's not meant to be. And that's not my job to control those situations. I can control this guy. That's it. Right. So we got married, man. It was like the best day of my life, man. It was like, me and her have worked through some things, and we've changed a lot, man. And we don't have a toxic relationship anymore. It's like probably the healthiest relationship I've ever had. And I had to be taught that by peers in my circle, what a healthy relationship was, right? She is an absolute beautiful person, and I'm lucky, I'll tell you right now. But I started doing business, man. We started being successful, and they started taking my mug shots, these people, because they were out of this little clique we have. Like, it's almost like high school, right? And they started taking my mud shots and plastered them all over the internet and just like putting it out there. And I'm like, oh my God, they found me out, right? I thought I just killed that dude and like just buried him. I never really dealt with him, right? The shame and guilt of being that guy, because listen, I was 130 pounds soaking wet, just rough. I was rough. I had sores all on my face. And when somebody put that out there, man, it just brought all those emotions back up. So I never really dealt with it. Now, I'm grateful that instant happened. Now, I wasn't at the time. But I was like, how am I going to stop these people from keep trashing me, trashing my name, trashing the work I've done on myself, trashing my family, all these things. Like, I was like, I was doing a YouTube channel for my business, and it became successful. And I was like, I'm going to do a YouTube channel. And so I started with YouTube, and I came up with the name, and I was like, let's do this. And I got some people, my friends, to come with me, and they're like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah. And then, so I'm like, if they're going to share my story, I might as well do it in the positive light that it should be, You know, that's something that recovery taught me, is you never fight negativity with negativity. You fight it with positivity. And guess what? Eventually it'll cease. Right. And so that's what I did. I just kept hitting with facts, you know, facts, man. These are the facts. I don't live like that no more. Like, recovery changes people, man. We do recover. We do deserve second chances. And that's just what it is. And man, I'll tell you right now, because the way I handled that situation, I've changed perspectives on the people that are in my circle that I never thought would be in my circle, right? I was the outside guy, right? I made them my circle because I made myself a different person. I've made myself respectable. I've made myself honorable. I've made myself a man of integrity. And recovery has given that to me. Like, I just did the work. Like, that's all I did. I showed up, I did what I was supposed to do, and I did what people told me to do. And I took suggestions. So, yeah, and it was such a freeing moment, man. It was such a freeing moment to be able to do that. And we've been doing it ever since. You know, we become a 501c3 last year. We switched to Facebook Lives. We do exactly like Recovery Revolution does. We go live every Wednesday and Sunday at 8 p.m. And there's the logo. So appreciate that. So we go live on Wednesday with Addiction to Success. And I came up with that name because I had to really dive into what success looked like to me, because I want what everybody else has as far as, yeah, exactly. And build it up, man. Build this freaking recovery life, man, and show people what it's about. But I had to really dive in. What is success look like for Justin, right? I'm looking at all these exterior things and thinking that I want that. Like, I want what everybody else has instead of living my truth, right? And sometimes we can get caught in that fantasy land of wanting other things, but do we really want it? Or is that just what society that's what it looks like we want? So I had to really dive in what success looked like, man. And I'll tell you right now, it's something my sponsor used to tell me all the time, man. And I'm grateful for him. And this is how I got it, was if you went nowhere else but where you are right now, are you successful? And I had to really think about that. And I said, you know what? Yeah, I am. I've done more in 4.5 years than I've done my whole life of 35 years, right? I've done way more. 40 years. Wow. 40 years. I've done more in 4.5 years, almost 5 years, than I have my whole entire life. I have gone back and got my GED. Now, these are the gifts of recovery because I stayed. I did the work. I got my GED. I went back to school and got my GED. Do I need it? No. I have a contractor's license with the state of Florida. I run a successful drywall business that, you know, I'm appreciative for my 2 guys that I do have that I taught how to do drywall, and they're amazing guys. But they respect me and I respect them. Again, respectable. I got married. I bought my first house. I learned a new trade called Venetian plaster, which is like the top shelf of drywall. Let's see, I've taught myself podcasting. I've taught myself marketing. I have a YouTube channel with, for my drywall that, it's got almost 4,000 subscribers, and I get paid by YouTube for it. And I haven't done a video in a year and a half, but like all these things we can do. And I'm not doing it to like be boastful or anything. I'm just saying, man, us people in addiction we could be so successful if we channeled our energy, all our focus on these goals, man. Because we're very smart, intelligent people. We just need to focus it, man, on something. You know, our brain works differently. We're not as fucked up. We just need to know how to channel it, right? So like that's what I did. I channeled it, into positive things, into building my self-confidence, right? It's still not there. Like I'm still that scared little boy back at 6 years old, man, that freaking scared of the dark, right? I'm still him, I'm just in a bigger body, right? On most days, I'm good, but some days, man, I still hate the guy in the mirror. And I just try to not talk to myself so negatively these days. I try to do positive things, and I try to say you're worth it, and like, you're loved and all these things. But man, sometimes it's still hard. It doesn't happen overnight where we miraculously come in recovery and everything's going to be magical and everything is fixed. I have 35 years of damage that I have to work on and learn how to heal. And I still like to pile up my plate full, but I'm definitely grateful for this life I live. I never thought I'd be living like this. I'm still blown away that I wake up in my own house, in my own bed, and I got socks in my drawer that are clean, and I don't have to I haven't worried about a bill in, 2.5 years. That's crazy to me. I used to worry about what's going to get shut off like a damn crackhead, because that's who I was. And, I got, because of all these things that I'm doing, and I learned how to video edit. I've self-taught video editing from these guys that taught me. I got a job with JL Video, where I live, man. And he is, 2.5 years ago, he would never even thought about it. You know what I mean? But because of how I handle myself in situations and who person I am and who I am as a person, even with the background, he hired me. So now I'm doing Hope Shot, I do JL, and I do Final Touch Drywall. So I like to keep my plate full, that's just what we do. What are we keeping it full with though? The career in addiction or the career in recovery. Addiction career is way more exhausting than any career I could have in this thing, and I could do multiple hats. So yeah, man, if you guys want to check us out on the Hope Shot, I go live every Wednesday and Sunday, and I just want to say I am grateful for Recovery Revolution for letting me share my story. It's always an honor and a privilege when asked to share your story, or when you have the opportunity, you do it, because you can't keep what you have unless you give it away. So thanks, guys.
Well, we're grateful that you're here. And I took notes on a couple of things I want to ask questions for and decompress a little bit. But we're going to start off with Brett. Will you show JR's shirt and put him on the screen big? Because everyone that's watching this, I don't care where you live. I don't care what you do for a job. I don't care your educational level. I don't care if you're using drugs, not using drugs, anything. You are enough. It doesn't matter what you achieve in life. You are enough the way you are. And I know we've all felt that we're not enough a lot of times in our life. Some of you probably are feeling like that right now. I feel like that a lot. But it's not true, and our brain lies to us. So I'm going to start there. Second, you were talking about trauma when you first started your story. And I think it's important that people understand the trauma. It doesn't matter what it is. It's how you feel and how it affects you, the effect it has on you. It can be somebody making fun of you and it not seem like a big thing to them, or what they're saying is not that hurtful. It can be just as bad as if someone beat you up, you saw someone murdered. It's all in your emotion and the way that it affects you. It's not the action. So, when a lot of people say, oh, you're, a wimp because this affected you this way, or you're not a wimp because it affected you that way. That's trauma, and, processing it is, and working on it is really the only way through it, or it's affected us all throughout our whole lives. I think everyone can probably identify with Justin that trauma is a bitch. And I share that definition of recovery from Samsa all the time on the show, because
my favorite.
Yeah. And I mean, we've talked about it, all of us, that we didn't feel like we fit in anywhere and we didn't belong, and how important belonging is. And shame and secrets are killing people. People are dying because of shame.
Yep.
And I wanted to ask you, how does it feel to finally be enough? Like, how does it feel to feel like you're enough? Just because you're in your own bed and wake up in the morning, like.
It's like I said, man, every day is a new day to work on things. And some days I don't feel like enough. Some days I feel like totally enough. Like my cup is overfilled with enough. But, that's where like we have to, I recognize what's going on. Why am I feeling this way? Why? And, so I make sure that I stay plugged in no matter what to recovery, because it is a lifestyle. It's literally a lifestyle. But like I said, yeah, and if anybody is feeling that way, where like they're not enough, they're not worthy of recovery, it's all a lie. We tell ourselves these lies. The lies that I tell myself forever was I was never enough. I'm not good enough. Nobody wants me. Better off dead. All these crazy things we tell ourselves. And I think nowadays we need more people to tell us that they believe in us, or tell us that we are worthy, or just answering the phone to somebody and say, how are you? Or whatever that looks like calling people you haven't talked to in a while. Connection. That's why I sometimes feel like social media is a good thing and it's a bad thing too, but we have a lot of connection with social media. Like I connect with y'all, man, because the opposite of addiction is connection. JR, yes. Connection, yes. The opposite of addiction is connection. And yeah.
And I think it's an important thing to say is a lot of us, I know I can only speak for myself personally, but when I'm open about being in recovery and then try to achieve things, it's because of the people that are suffering or their family members, that I want them to believe that there's hope. I'm only doing it so that they know that there's another life and there's hope for them. Like if I did it, they can do it. It's not for me. If it was up to me, I'd be sitting at home reading a book. Like, or never going out in public. Like I'm an introvert. Having a camera on me is, and then showing up without makeup. Like being here is not for me. So if you don't feel like you're enough, we're all here for you. So please do feel like you are, if you're listening.
And that's another thing with doing this stuff, sharing. It will help the people that are introverts. Like dude, when I first started doing this, I had anxiety. I was so like, I was a mess. Right. And it's still, some days it's still the same. Like I get anxiety before I go on for no apparent reason. I don't have no clue why, but it does it. I get anxiety. But like sharing your story literally just helps you, helps your self-confidence as well. Like getting on camera helps your self-confidence, it's a confidence booster.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm naturally a shy guy, despite what they're going to say.
It's an act. I get it.
Yeah,
it's like
an act. It's an act.
It's borderline because, like, if you ever done a personality test, I don't know if you ever done a personality test, but they have these personality tests. You can find out who you are, like, kind of, and it kind of nails it right on the head. I'm like borderline introvert, extrovert. So like I have more introvert than extrovert. And like, I'm just like on the like half and half of everything. Like it's pretty cool to find out about yourself. So if you ever go online and find the personalities test and take it, because it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm an introverted extrovert, I guess.
Ambivert, whatever it is called. I'm highly introverted. Like it's like 70% introverted for 30. So I'm like highly on I'm an INTJ, right? I don't know. Something like that.
Something like that.
A lot of people, I feel like, don't tell their stories because they're prepared for the judgment, or they're expecting someone to say something, or, like you can't, like I've been told multiple times, you can't tell your story wrong. Like you literally cannot. I mean, it's your story and no one can tell your story for you because it's your story, your lived experience. And it's so interesting to me, a couple of things that y'all were talking about was like the positive thoughts instead of negative thoughts. When there's so many like studies that have shown that somebody who is in active addiction, and let's say their mom is trying to get them to, go to treatment. And just like the smart recovery training I did, there was a whole like family aspect of it where basically it was saying like a man is, has alcoholism. He's out at the bar. He comes home. His wife is ticked off, upset, fuming. He comes in and wants to talk, and it can go two ways. She can either be like, get the F out my face. I'm not talking to you. You disgust me. I can't believe you did this. You don't love me. You don't care. This is terrible. Blah, blah, blah. Get out my face. I mean, go straight there, which we are human beings. So emotions sometimes take over, and that's just how it happens. And that's okay, Mm-hmm. However, the other side of that, what smart recovery would teach you is that the better way to handle that is to, if somebody who's been drinking or using comes in and wants to have a conversation, and that it's going to get out of hand because your emotions, you're fired up, doing the opposite. I'm so glad you're home. I worry about you when you're not here because I love you so much. I'm going to go get a shower. I had a long day. I'm not in a good place to talk. I just had a very long day, whatever. And remove yourself instead of, you did this, you did that, you don't do this, you don't do that, it's constant nagging, which again, we're human beings. It's based off emotions most of the time. However, as I said, smart recovery uses the tool to flip, how you handle that. So instead of making it worse, you're at least leaving it on the same, level. Mm-hmm. So I think that just goes to show that although I know it's hard to not get angry at somebody when they're using and they're going to jail and they're not taking care of the child or whatever it may be, well, sometimes, most of the time, when you're in that addiction mindset, you're not there. I mean, yes, you can yell at me, and I'm probably just going to, like Justin said, I'm going to manipulate it and do whatever you want me to do. I'm going to say what you want me to say to make you shut up. And then I'm going to be right back on the BS, 2 minutes later. Mm-hmm. So the positive is so important because you leave them instead of them feeling like they're a disappointment and they're, they feel betrayed or like they've been deceitful and, they feel ashamed and hopeless. Instead of making them feel that way, if you flip it, it might, there's no guarantee, but it could make it literally go a different way, almost to the point of sometimes it could actually be life and death. I mean, unfortunately, I know a very distant family member who her mom was using. She had been in recovery for a hot minute and then, fell off the wagon for a second. But unfortunately, as we've all said before, we do recover, but that's why Narcan and harm reduction is so important, because we can't recover if we're dead. And her mom and her got in a big argument. It was a blow up. It was the, nagging, I can't believe you don't love me, all the negative. And unfortunately, it flipped. And the next morning when she got up, her mom was dead. She found her mom dead from an overdose. And was that because of her? No, that's not at all what I'm saying, of course. But it could change. You never know what your words do to somebody. And although accountability is number one, positive thoughts instead of negative can go a lot further, sometimes. And the trauma that you and Justin and Ashley were talking about, I feel like it also relates so much by, yes, craft. I could not think of that. Thank you. The trauma, although it's a little different, when people like give you that grief timeline, when Kenny died, it was like, oh, it's been 2 weeks, aren't you better? Oh, it's been a year. You don't want to date yet. Oh, it's been 2 years. You don't want to have kids yet with somebody else. Oh, it's been 3 years. I mean, like they just assume that this trauma and this grief or this, whatever trauma is supposed to just go away. There's no timeline for trauma being with healing in general. There's no timeline. Every single person on this live watching this out these doors in every community in all the states that we all live in, everybody is going to heal from trauma, grief, being, somebody being deceitful, somebody saying something hurtful. cheating, whatever it may be. We're all going to heal from that differently. Ashley might bounce back, and it might take me 5 years. Brett might be hurt for a year. JR might jump back in a week. I mean, whatever it may be. There is no timeline for healing. And I feel like the pressure put on for that is one of the reasons that some people do fall back in to losing their recovery, is because there's so much pressure put on us to heal quickly, recover quickly. Don't talk about it, just do it. I mean, no, it's not the same for everybody. So that timeline, or limit on what you're supposed to heal is just for the birds for me.
I agree, Amanda. My dad died when I was 11, and I didn't deal with it till I was in my 30s. So the timeline that people want to throw at you, it's if you do it in somebody else's timeline, all you're doing is pushing, and it creates a bigger bomb one day. It's going to go off one day. It might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, it might be 5 years down the road, but there's going to be one day it hits you. And it's
inevitable. Absolutely. So Justin, how do you feel about harm reduction? What do you offer harm reduction for everybody who doesn't know you and watch you like I do? Matt, Smart Recovery, all of the things.
So my personal recovery is through Narcotics Anonymous. That's my personal. So on the for what we do in our group, we actually read this clarity statement because we got to meet people where they are. So yeah, Matt, it's what used to work back in the day, and that's what I feel like. I feel like we're failing by not accepting people for as they are and where they are. Some people need Matt. Some people don't want to do step work. Some people have a resentment towards step work. Some people need smart recovery. Every different way is the right way for different people, right? And that's where like diversity should be a strength. And I feel like one thing that's lacking is like more of the Matt recovery. So like support groups and homes and stuff like that for sober living. For Matt, we're lacking that around here because they don't feel like they belong. So it's something that we're trying to figure out to help people. But yeah, for my personal belief, do what you do. What works for me might kill you, and what works for you might kill me. That's how I am.
We struggle with the same thing. We don't, we have so many people that come to like Wake Up Carolina for help, for treatment. And we do scholarships and detox scholarships and such. And it is so frustrating because, I can't even remember who it was. I was going to look it up, but I just got an email from SAMHSA earlier that I think $79.1 million just got like proved in overdose like prevention grants, and I want to say it was like 39.2 or 7 or something like that. Anyway, $39 million was put specifically for meth, and that obviously is huge because a lot of people don't agree with Matt. You're not sober, yada yada, but a lot of people also feel like if you're on an antidepressant, you're not sober. So yeah. I'm like you. I respect all pathways. That's my meeting on Fridays is all recovery. Whatever your path is that's keeping you alive is that's where it's at. Like you said, our hugest thing is meeting people where they are. But we struggle with that as well, that there are really, well, we have Oxford houses, and most of the Oxford houses actually do accept MAT patients, which is a blessing. But other than Oxford houses, there aren't. I mean, my partner at Wake Up Carolina lives in a sober living, right to live. And I know a lot of the guys from my using days even though I'm on MAT and they see my experience and they see how well I'm doing, I work with my own clinic, doing harm reduction there. but it doesn't, that's still their rules. So they don't allow anybody on the Vivitrol, Suboxone, Subutex, Methadone, nothing. I mean, which is frustrating for me because there are a lot of people who need that. So we are kind of in the same boat you are. We're trying to find a way, figure out how to, how to do that, how to get that offered. I'm sorry, in Lantana Treatment Facility, they do as well. They do allow people to get Suboxone and stuff.
Well, I want to talk. So let's break that down, because I'm big on advocating and knowing what we're advocating for. And I am completely 100% supportive of MAT and MAT recovery. It is recovery. Mm-hmm. But when they're putting this money into MAT, the gold standard now is MAT 3 days, and then you're back out. And then there's no housing set up. There's not, you're waiting in lines in the middle, like the middle of the night almost. So when we talk about recovery, there's a lot of work that has to be done, and it doesn't matter how you do that work. There's something that made you use to begin with, whether it's a mental health condition, whether it's trauma, whether it's you didn't feel like you fit in, whatever your reason is. If you don't do any work on that, no matter what your pathway is, it's not going to be successful, because in the long term, you can have yoga as your pathway and it work if you're addressing what you need to address. So that's a big problem with the gold standard for MAT right now. It's not the MAT that's the problem. It's the problem that they're not giving people treatment. They're not giving housing with it. They're not. So when we advocate for money for any program, we need to advocate to address, the underlying issue that needs to be addressed too, or else we're switching one drug for another, and it could end up costing people their lives because they're doing multiple things together, or just a lot of scariness. So, I wanted to point that out just because.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think, that's I want to answer Katrina in just a second. But that's your point is, overly valid. It's so true. I go to the MAT clinic, and there are, I've gone to the extent where we have a organization around here that's kind of new, but they get like bagels and like prepackaged meals that like donated and such. And we will get them here, and I will take them. I will literally go to my office at 5:30 in the morning, 5:30 to pick this stuff up, to bring it down there to feed them, because there are so many homeless people. And I've been blessed enough. I've never been homeless. I've been blessed. However, I know a lot of people. So although I don't have lived experience myself with it, it's, when you're on the streets like that, I've been told multiple times they're go to the MAT clinic, they're in recovery, and then people are just passing drugs around, you're in it's a messy situation. So they absolutely need to, just the homeless population in general, with or without MAT, as Ashley, you and I have talked about, like off, air, is disgusting. How so many areas handle that. It needs to be, fixed either way. And Katrina, so smart recovery basically is kind of like, not an equivalent, but it's similar to like NA 12-step. It's basically just, a program. And so the goal of smart recovery is abstinence. However, they believe that any way that you recover is your path. Everybody's path is different, and everybody's path is worthy, and they accept it. So it's basically an all recovery meeting. However, what smart recovery has done is it's very scientific based. So they've studied a lot of these different programs, what's worked, what hasn't, and then they've kind of put it together. So they have a lot of like cognitive behavioral therapy. They have tools for like priorities, anger, rational beliefs versus irrational beliefs. Just multiple different, how your actions and your consequences affects, your thoughts, your belief. If you have a irrational belief, then you jump to, you're driving in the car and you're trying to get to a meeting, and you need to get to the meeting because you feel like you're going to drink. And it's like an ABC. Your irrational thought is, oh, I'm in traffic. I'm not going to get there in time. I might as well not go. I should just go drink. Well, that's the emotion that caused you to make a bad decision. Your behavior after that affects it. The consequences from you going to drink are, you relapse, you slipped up, maybe you got a DUI, maybe you're just embarrassed, maybe you're ashamed of yourself. So it's just learning how your irrational beliefs can affect you negatively. So there's also a whole lot of family and friends tools. If you message me, I don't want to take up everybody's time, but if you want to message me, if you're interested, I know they put the link down at the bottom, and I'm trained in it. So if you want to talk about it, feel free to message me, because I'm starting meetings. We don't have one for 93 miles. It's the closest one from me. So I'm starting them on September 16th at 6:30 p.m. And I don't think we live in the same state, but they have online meetings as well. So.
And whatever you're interested in, there's a pathway for it, I promise you. There's a pathway for everything. It might not be in your area. You might have to attend online, but I promise you there's something. Like I put in the chat, there's Recovery Dharma, Smart Recovery, Celebrate Recovery, She Recovers, NA, AA, Craft, Invitation to Change for Families. There's so many programs. If you don't feel like one works for you, you don't fit in, try a different one. There's art therapy. There's all kinds. There's trauma-informed yoga. There's a million different pathways. And so you talked about harm reduction, and that's something, that definition is very broad. Harm reduction can be a lot of different things. Housing is harm reduction. Giving those bagels out, that's harm reduction. Empathy, kindness, giving someone a second chance, all harm reduction. So if your personal belief is maybe not to do certain things that are different on the harm reduction scale, you don't have to. You can have a boundary, or your organization doesn't have to do certain things. But if you do anything for anyone that's in recovery or using drugs that helps their life, you're doing something for harm reduction. And when we talk about it like that, it helps everybody.
Justin, wanted to say I heard so many parts of my story in your story, buddy. I mean, I was the exact same way when I came into recovery. I mean, I finished VA treatment, and then they signed me up for this compensated work therapy program at the hospital, and I was doing it, and I guess I impressed the full timers enough that where they were like, "Yeah, we're gonna hire you for this job." And I'm like, there's no way they're going to hire me because I'm a felon, and my record is 20 pages long, man. So I was like, yeah, you guys could put me in for the job, but there's no way they'll hire. And I'd already, just removed myself from even thinking about the job. But they kept pushing. And, I was like, all right, to shut you guys up, I'm going to apply for the job. And I'm going to show you that they're not going to hire me. And, I applied for the job at the hospital, at the VA hospital. And sure enough, the background check guy sent me a letter like a week later. Hey, your background's too shady. But by this point, I was like, you know what? I deserve this job now. I've done put all this time in the training. So I called him up, and we started talking, and I shared my story. It's I was brutally honest about where I was, where I've been, where I was. And, like 15 minutes into the conversation, the guy was like, you know what? You sound like a good guy, but I don't know about the position that you want. Maybe I could put you in the kitchen or in housekeeping. And I was like, nah, dude. I said, I spent a year training for this, man. So we kept talking. And by the end of the conversation, he was like, yeah, I'm going to prove you.
No.
Job at a federal hospital, dude.
That's freaking awesome.
Yeah. Felon. I got like 4 felons to my name.
Yeah. They, it's one thing is like, we think we're screwed, like,
we write ourselves. We limit ourselves. That's what addiction really does to us. Yeah. When you get in recovery, you don't think you deserve more than that minimum wage job.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm here to tell people, man, shoot for your dreams, man. Go for the gold.
Yeah.
People want people in recovery because, like, I think AG and I were talking about the other day that, people in recovery are some of the hardest working people. Like you, you're a busy man. I'm a busy man. It's like I feel like there's always something else that I could be doing, to help the next person.
Yeah. And sometimes I want to get overwhelmed with how much I put on my plate. And I'm like, no, I got this. Cause I do a live podcast just like in recovery, but I do it for business owners too in one of my Facebook groups. And, I'm like, how do I even manage to do all these things, and still drink water and keep the kids alive and all that stuff, it's crazy. We could do a lot of things, man, as long as we calm, like breathe, learn, practice the pause, it's that stuff.
I mean, I don't even want to tell you what AG does. She has like 5 jobs.
It sounds like it. Way she's spitting things, I'm telling you, man. once you get into the nonprofit world and this kind of side, dude, it's like, whoa. You gotta like tell people, yo, no is no. No, I'm just kidding. Because it's like there's so much going on. You want to be involved and you want to do all these good works, and it can become over. You can do more damage than good if you overdo yourself, but as long as you come in it, and make sure, like I said, practice the pause and not get overwhelmed, because I can literally get overworked and make myself go into a panic attack and make myself think that I'm not doing or not knowing. And like that fear creeps in and am I doing right? And that, am I enough? And all these crazy things, man, just keep doing that.
Exactly.
And keep shutting that shit away. Nope. Not now.
Yeah. Like
that's what on Sunday, I think it was your the Hope Shot when you were live on Sunday, and everybody was talking, and I was in the comments talking about how I have a hard time like saying no, because I know how many people need to hear somebody, not me. I mean, all I've got is my lived experience, and that's great for some people. Yes, woohoo, but some people need other people, and that's fine. But I have a hard time saying no. And I think Kelly, jumped in, and, was saying, she's the same way. It's so hard to say no and turn things down. And my boss, Nancy, always tells me, because I will overload my plate. Like there is I'm over here juggling like 6, like, oh, wait. I mean, it's insane. And I'm about to move and I've got 4 kids. I mean, it's, nuts. So she always tells me that if the opportunity is meant and it is important, that it will come back around if you miss it the first time. So I'm trying. I'm not very good at it yet, but I'm trying to to take that. And like Kelly, I think Kelly even said, you can't pour from an empty cup. And if nobody's filling yours and you're filling everybody else's, then you're not going to be there to support, to help, to empower, to inspire, to tell your story to anybody.
Yeah. That was last week's topic, was pouring from an empty cup. That was last week's topic.
Yeah.
Amanda, I'm not a violent person, but if I ever hear you say all I have is my lived experience again, I'm going to slap you, because you've survived and overcome and learned things that I don't know that I could have. And there's a lot of people that wouldn't have. You're a mom. Is it your niece? You're an aunt that takes care of someone else's child. You have so many things. You don't just have your lived experience, and that is diminishing who you are and what you do. So please don't ever say that again.
Thank you. You're right. I'm a badass, I must say.
Thank you.
There you go.
I mean, we all are, though. I mean, look at this screen right now. Like, seriously. Like, look at this screen. I mean, Brett, and I even put in there, I mean, he's a dad. He's got a baby on the way, a absolutely gorgeous, beautiful wife. He puts everything he's got into these lives, to our sound effects, he's on it. He puts everything he's got into these lives with everything he's already got going. Justin has kids, you know, he's a husband. His wife is truly one of the most beautiful human beings I think I've ever encountered. She is just truly a absolutely beautiful soul. I mean, she just is. And all the things that all the things that, that you do. I mean, Justin, for your community.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you're always, like you said, you've got all these different things. I mean, when I see you in the morning, right after I just saw you the night before on the Hope Shot, and you're coming in with business and you're like coming in hot, what's up? And I'm like, oh, dude, it's like way too early, you know? And then, I mean, JR is always, I mean, it does not matter how much his plate is full. It does not matter how many different his hands are in, how many jars, you know?
Hey.
The cookies.
He still will reach out and say, well, what do you think about this? Maybe we should do that. I mean, he is so passionate about what he's doing that it overwhelms me to just know what he does on a daily basis. Like it makes me tired. And then of course, Ashley, like everybody has always said, that woman, I mean, I don't think I have ever looked up to somebody and just respected someone so much that I've never met in real life. You know, I mean, she's caring. She can have 1,000,001 things going on, and she'll call and we'll talk for an hour, 2 hours. I mean, and hold the conversation. And she's so intelligent, and she's a mom, and she's got about 10 jobs plus about 5 donated time nonprofits and boards. I mean, the fact that I'm on the screen with all of you guys blows my mind.
You know what I can't do? And this is what I'll tell you. What I can't do is last night there was an international overdose awareness event. And because losing so many people in the last year, going to that event was too much for me. I had to not go. And I don't feel guilty because I knew that I didn't have the capacity. But you went and you were there for people. It was a different event, but you had the space for that. I can't go to funerals because I have trauma from them from my dad. So I can't go and hold space for people at those. I know that it's going to put me in a tailspin. There's a lot of people that go. There's people that respond to overdoses that would traumatize me. So there's skills that I have that are different from the skills that other people have, but they're not better. Their skills aren't better than mine. We need all those skills, and we need the people on the ground doing the work, the people that can hold space. It's important, all of it.
It's also important what you said, though. I think for all the listeners right now to hear, though, is what you just said, that you realized that it was going to be an overload. So you respected your own boundaries and your self-care, and you backed up and you did not do it. And you didn't not go because you didn't care or that it wasn't important. Everybody knows that's not the case. You went because you knew that you had trauma. You did not go because you knew that you just could not handle it. And that is a huge respect thing that I have, because, you know, I am trying to get there, but I'm working on it, because sometimes I struggle where it's that even if I know I'm going to be overwhelmed, I still do it. And I've got to learn not to, because it does put me in a tailspin. So that's important for every listener and everyone that will listen to hear, is it's okay to not go. It's okay to choose you first.
Can't help anyone if you don't put the oxygen mask on. It's the most annoying example ever. Do you have to put the oxygen on you before the other person on the plane? But it's so true.
Yeah. I'm not going to keep talking, y'all. I know you're waiting for me to fill the silence, but like, I'm not. Okay.
It's close to my bedtime.
Yeah, I know Justin's been yawning for like 30 minutes.
I got to go work out.
At 9:30.
Yeah, I no matter what, I get it in, man. I do these things, and I'm trying to stay somewhat physically. We got to stay mentally, spiritually, and physically fit. It's all a part of it. The trifecta.
Amen.
Yeah. So I'm doing well, and I committed myself to 8 weeks of no cheating, no eating out, no nothing. I am eating decent vegetables and everything, and I hate vegetables.
Oh gosh. We were asking in the comments, Justin, if it's okay if we play the Family Matters skit.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Okay.
What's up? Recovered on Purpose.
Let's do that. Let's end on a funny note.
Yeah.
It's a rare condition this day and age to read any good news on the newspaper page. And love and tradition of the grand design, some people say, is even harder to find. Well, then there must be some magic clue inside these gentle walls. 'Cause all I see is a tower of dreams, real love bursting out of every scene.
Love it.
Listen, we thought of that, filmed it, and then I edited it in like one day. I did a Cheers one too for a thank you. I did a Cheers one for a coffee shop in downtown. So
I don't have that one.
yeah. I don't even think I have that one handy. It's good too, man. I love doing little things like I love video, man. I love recreating things, you know. I enjoy it, man. It's like my go-to. Yeah, I don't know.
What was that putty that fell on your face?
Yeah, drywall mud, yeah.
Did you do that on purpose or was it like actually an accident?
No, I did it on purpose.
It looks legit.
It took me 3 tries to get it to do that.
Oh God.
I mean, I drop mud in my face all the time, but like when I was, doing drywall, but it's hard to do when you want it to, Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Thanks for playing it.
Absolutely.
Well, Justin, we really appreciate you coming on tonight, dude. I mean, I've totally enjoyed it, man. It's great to finally, talk to you face to face.
Yeah.
In the comments all the time.
I know, right? It's cool, man. Like I said, man, social media, man, it connects people, man. Sometimes even better than real life. And it's insane to say that, but it's true. But the only thing it doesn't do for you is have that real human connection, like going to connect with your fellows and stuff like that on personal levels. You still need both, you need both, but it was great to be here, man. It's good conversation. So I appreciate all y'all for letting me come on and share my story. It's an honor. If I could get you guys to come on too. I know I got Amanda already did. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely, buddy.
Send us a message. We'll get you scheduled.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. We got to set up a time, dude. We'll come on your show, man.
Yeah, we do Sunday nights. Like we have our sharing on Wednesdays, but that's booked out. But the Sunday nights, man, it's just a group of us bullshit.
Yeah.
We bullshit about recovery, share experience, strength, and hope, feed off each other. It's fun, man. We're gonna start doing group meetings too. So Amanda, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna call you because I need to talk to you. I'm gonna say I'm going to call you, and it never happens, but it's happening. It's happening. Okay. You too, Ashley. We're all gonna talk.
I won't hold my breath.
Brett, I'll call you, buddy.
Okay.
I hate that when like people are like, "Oh, can we schedule a time?" I'm like, "Just call me." Like, it's so much easier than having to like fit it in a block time. It's like, just call me. If I don't answer, I'll call you back. If you don't answer, you call me back. Like, it works out easier.
Ashley, I didn't like how Amanda said she talked to you for like an hour and a half. You gave me like 5 minutes on the phone. She's like, I gotta go.
It was like 6 a.m. because that's my drive for an hour and a half. So that's my time. If you're not available at 6, that's what I got.
I'm loyal.
She got my time because she was
committed.
Mic drop.
Boom. Committed, sir. Committed, sir.
Yeah, he always wants to talk at like 8 a.m, 8:30. I'm like, I've been at
That's
work.
my drive time, okay?
I'm sorry, not available. I'm already working.
He popped in at my work like last week, and that was cool.
Yeah.
It was a good surprise. He like walked in. I'm walking out of one of the offices, and I'm like, "Hey."
I'm everywhere.
And then he didn't even come to see me. He came to see my boss, and she wasn't there. So I was like the second class citizen that filled in. But that's okay. Whatever.
Hey, we had a good talk. We did.
Yeah. Sorry, Jay. Have I been making you feel like I don't have time? You probably call me like 5 days a week, and I answer once.
You 1 out of 5. Yeah.
Call me out on it. Send me a text and do it. But
it's going to be on your
work with my time frame.
Yeah. It's going to be on your performance review. Brett's getting the cake. That's it.
Maybe you'll fire me.
Brett's got the cake coming.
JR's never.
That's why he's got the shirt.
You've never visited me at work, JR.
Long ride.
Oh, gosh. I messed Ashley up. I messed JR up. I mean, I'm snitching.
All right.
He's like, let's end it now.
Yeah.
We're trouble.
She's snitching. She's snitching.
Yep. And I got to put my kids to bed. And
I got to go pick up a Target order for my kid because she won't leave me alone about these special shorts.
Gotta have them.
Yeah.
Well, thank you to everyone that joined us tonight for another episode of Recovery Revolution Live. If you guys are watching us on YouTube, please be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you know when we go live. In case you guys haven't figured it out yet, it's every Thursday night. If you guys would like to send us a voice message because we like the conversation to go both ways instead of us just talking, you can leave us a voice message at speak-2.us/RRL. Be sure to check out the Hope Shot, thehopeshot.org, and they also have a Facebook page. Check that out as well. And don't forget about the Recovery Challenge 2022. That's going to be going on September 1st. That's today through the end of the month. Send a photo of yourself holding a sign, a poster board, a piece of cardboard, whatever you got with your city, state, country on there, and recovers. We can spread some hope. Let people know that we are in recovery and we're recovering loud and proud. Thank you, everybody that came on tonight and watched this. And to the folks that are watching us after we're off the air, thank you for tuning in. Justin, it was a pleasure meeting you. Thank you again for being on the show tonight, man. And remember, guys, progress, not perfection. I think somebody had asked for an air horn sound effect, so there it is. I didn't have a good time to use it, but I do have one.
It's always a good time to use air horn.
Yeah. Good night, everybody.